First of all, big thanks for joining this webinar. My colleague Bert and myself would like to welcome you into the AI session within SuccessFactors. Maybe starting with first slide, with just simply presenting ourselves. Bert, my colleague, is one of the strategic AI consultants within Flexso Digital, together with myself as a competence lead for SuccessFactors and Concur. Today we'll try to bring you along the road what AI could mean within SuccessFactors in an embedded and in a custom way. Maybe for the agenda of today, we'll start with a very small introduction, then we'll focus on some embedded features, then some custom features, and then we'll stop at the end with how can we help you, and of course as well a small Q&A, 10-15 minutes at the end of the session. First, as an introduction, we often get the question as Flexso, what is AI about? And if you look at all the capabilities that AI can do, then you can come up with a lot of things, from extracting, automating, summarizing, generating, enriching, and so on. So we see that a lot of terms are being used and a lot of capabilities are possible within AI. And we often get the question from our clients, where should we invest? Where should we go for? And if we're looking here at the several dimensions that we are seeing with AI, then we see on the bottom two things, going from off-the-shelf, being tools, AI tools that are ready-made, that you can just pick up and use, or more versus the tailor-made, really making something specifically for your company. That's one dimension. On the left side, the other dimension, you have two parts. There, the embedded cases, really embedded within the tools that you are using today, or more or less fully tools, AI tools that you are using standalone. And if you look at the several gradings, if our clients are asking us where do we need to invest, and we're always saying, okay, if you look at the tailor-made solutions, standalone or embedded, there we see that you will have a higher total cost of ownership. Those are really used for company-specific use cases, really focusing on implementing AI cases where you can have some competitive advantages for your company next to other companies. It will not really be the focus of today. Today we will more or less focus on embedded and off-the-shelf. I think very important AI tools that are serviced, for example, within SuccessFactors, that you can easily adapt to, that you can really ground into your current tool and in your process. However, there we see very generic use cases. These are the same in company A, B, C, D, and so on, but you can really, in a fast way, embed them and use them off the shelf. Then if we are looking at off the shelf, but as well standalone, there we see separate AI tooling that you can buy, that you can connect with your current tools. It's a bit of a higher cost of ownership, and there you can reuse it a bit for more specific use cases. But as Flexso, we try to combine everything and really looking at the sweet spot, combining a lot of the benefits. How can we reuse the off-the-shelf embedded cases, customize them a little bit, try to put tools, AI tools together. For example, how can we match SuccessFactors with ChatGPT? How can we put that together? So it's really important as a client to really look into where do we want to invest, what is our objective with implementing AI. A very important slide that will come back throughout the session. I think here if we look at how SAP looks into the AI world and how we can leverage AI within the current tools that are existing. So first of all, AI has invested a lot in partnerships and really invested in the AI ecosystem with the big players as Microsoft and Google and so on. So really leveraging their knowledge, their use of the different AI tools, and putting that together with the AI Foundation, the business technology platform, where Bert later on will explain a bit more, really seeing how can we leverage the things that are already existing today, not inventing the wheel as new, and really seeing how can we support two separate cases. First of all, the embedded AI capabilities, so really looking at all your business tools from SAP. And today we'll focus on the human capital management, of course. What are there the embedded cases that you can just pick off the shelf, install, and use within your company? Next to the customized AI, and this is what Bert will explain later on, how can we make sure that we leverage all the things and really build specific AI cases for your company? And on top of that, they have created their own co-pilot, Joule, and Joule is really used to leverage throughout all the different business processes as a chatbot helping you within your processes and trying to leverage it as much as possible. So a quick introduction. For the second part, we will go to the embedded cases within SuccessFactors, the AI embedded cases, and there we will focus on the two parts, Joule and the human or the SuccessFactors embedded cases within the tool. First off, a very important one, and I think this is something that we always need to see if we talk about AI. First of all, it needs to be relevant, making sure that the cases that we build or that you use embedded, that they really fit into the context of your business, and making sure that we can leverage all the applications and the solutions that you have in-house. I think this is the first one, making sure it's relevant, but as well making sure it's reliable. Making sure that if you ask a question to Joule, that you get a correct answer. For example, in an HR department, making sure that your employees get the right answer. But as well, responsible, making sure that it is built on certain leading ethics, making sure that the data data privacy is guarded, that we have the correct standards, and that we have a good security. If we look at the first case, Joule, I think Joule you really need to see as your personal AI assistant. Making sure a chatbot that you can use throughout your work, really making your work a bit easier. Making sure that you can ask the questions, getting answers in the right time, performing tasks, and so on. So if you look at Joule, and if you look at the whole ecosystem of SAP, making sure that you can work faster, have smarter insights, better outcomes, but as well, and that's always a very important one within AI, that you still have the human control. It needs to serve you as an employee within your job, but making sure that you still have the control of it, so making sure that you can do the correct cases and complete them and perform them in a correct way. If we look at Joule, Joule has been implemented in each of the business functions. HR has been one of the first ones. For example, in easy cases with recruitment. Later on I'll show you a video on that one, but as well in sales, within IT, procurement, sourcing, you can really use Joule as your tool to really leverage on the right things. For example, within recruitment, getting the right information, getting summaries, making sure that within sales that you get the correct information. For example, in IT, helping you in code generation and so on, making sure that you can have the correct things in there. To give you some examples about Joule, I think here you can focus on 4 different topics. 3 of them are already working at this moment. First of all, transactional data, making sure that you complete tasks throughout the conversation that you're having. For example, creating something, creating a job, creating a position, deleting something, changing something. So really you can ask the chatbot, give me some information, and really try to do the correct things. Second of all, navigating. For example, as an employee, I want to go to my timesheet, I want to see my holiday calendar, I want to go to a certain document, and so on. Really making sure that you can do it within that way. Third of all, you also have the analytics part. There I think very important. Analytics part, this is coming at Q2 2025. Really trying to see how we can make sure that we can have the data within the system, having the analytics about it, and really having a good answer via Joule. As well, the informational part, one I forgot, also giving certain information. Who is my manager? What is my address? How many holidays does my colleagues have, for example, seeing their holiday calendar, for example. So really using Joule as a tool in that way. A very important one, and Bert will explain a bit later on as well, document grinding. As well, if you have interactions with Joule, this is based upon certain data, but you can also make sure that you have your policies within the system. For example, a travel and expense policy, making sure that when somebody asks a question, that as well you can have the correct information directly from your policy. Later on we'll show an example. Enough slides, some examples for Joule for HR. So the first one is, for example, creating of a position. So in this case, I just start up the chatbot. Chatbot will say, how can I, for example, help you? Certain actions that will be pushed for your specific person with the right roles and responsibilities that you have within the system. You want to create a certain position. System will look at who are your peers within the system. You can select somebody that you're saying, okay, let's copy a position. Then all the data will come out from the position. Again, here based upon the permissions that are within the system. Again, you can, as a client, say these fields are visible, these are not visible. You can go through the different files. Then you can say, okay, I want to make some changes in an easy selecting way. You say, for example, I want to change the job title. Then you can just enter, this will be the new job title. So for example, in this case, a senior assembly manager, you're just adding it via the chatbot. And then it will be pushed into the position. System will ask, do you want to change any other things? As well, if you're looking, for example, from what moment do I want to have this change within the system, you can just say it's from today, or it will pick a date with the same format that you also experience when you create, for example, a position. And then the system will as well push certain changes. You will, if there are approval flows within the system, these will be taken over by Joule itself, and you can just push the change to the system. So really doing some tasks where you now need to click a lot within the system, making sure that you can do it in an efficient and in a fast way. Another example, for example, a promotion that you want to add to somebody. So really all the actions that you are used to today within SuccessFactors, you can also push via Joule. Saying, okay, I want to promote Jada in this case. You will go to Jada's information. Then you can see, for example, which data do I want to change from her. Do I want to change her to another job, to another job grade, for example. And in that way, you can easily push the changes within the system. For example, in this case, we'll keep the salary grade in the same, and as well, you will submit your approval to certain manager. You will see in this case who will be the manager, and then the manager can approve it, and it will be changed into the system. So instead of clicking in different ways, you really go into the system, you chat with Joule, and then you can easily do changes, ask questions, and so on. Another example that we're having for the document grounding. So in this case, for example, an employee asks, can I use my private car for my business trip? And then Joule will really look into the document, your travel and expense policy. He will give the source document saying, okay, this is what we found within the document. And then you can also really look into where the document is, and you can open it in an easy way. So a couple of things for Joule, some examples. So I think here, maybe that's something that we can come back to later on. It is important indeed that you have a certain SAP license. There are some technical prerequisites. You indeed need to sign a contract with SAP, and then in an easy way we can activate Joule. I think if you want more information at the end of the session, we'll also show you how you can do this. If we then look at, next to Joule, also the embedded cases within SAP SuccessFactors, here we've given an overview of all the different modules in where AI cases are added. We will not show everything today, but we'll show some short videos, mainly focusing on the different roles within the company. There are already a lot of cases that are already working at this moment, but SAP is also investing a lot. And if we compare it to 6 months ago and now, it's a totally different world. A lot of new things will be popping up. For example, AI agents, Bert will explain that later on. This is coming now in this case. As well, I think for this year, we will see a lot of assisted writing, for example, for translations within the system. You write a text, you can translate it directly within the system. But as well, if we're looking at specifically for learning, really having some intelligent Q&A within the learning module to see your content in a better way. Also, the ratings and the user input that you're having in performance document will be used somewhat in an analytical way. AI will be used to do it. And still a lot of things that we are seeing, employee self-service, manager self-service, that will be added within the next steps. If we look at the different roles in an HR organization, so we have our HR specialist, a manager, an employee, for example, really looking from their perspective, what can AI bring to the table for them? So for example, for HR, making sure that I have a lot of high workload tasks, how can I minimize them, how can I improve my decision making, and so on. So a couple examples there. First one, if you look at recruitment, a very easy one and a scenario that we are seeing that a lot of companies can use. You're going, for example, for your job description, you have noted it down, or a manager, for example, in an easy bullet way, what are the primary duties, what are the qualifications that we expect. And then AI will really enhance that, making sure that you have a sufficient text that is available upon the website, for example. So you can check it in an easy way. And again, here in the coming months, we will see some context that could be added into these cases, really making sure that you can really make it as company specific as possible, for example. In this case, the text has been added and then it can be pushed into the website. So for HR, making sure that you have those easy, repetitive tasks that you can do it via the AI solution. Another example, an integration with Teams. I think that's something that we have seen grown a lot in the last years, to be honest. So really making sure that everybody is used to using Teams, but also making sure that SuccessFactors is accessible from that case. Going to your calendar, asking certain information, for example, requesting a holiday. For example, you can do it directly within Teams, and then you can push it automatically into SuccessFactors. So for example, changing your data, changing your address, for example. So you can really pull out all the data within SuccessFactors. You can have some quick actions, for example, and going to the tool. In this case, we're seeing now a holiday that you are requesting or a clock-in that you are requesting. So really making sure that your employees can use the tools that they have today, integrated with the data from SuccessFactors, and really making sure that you can do your 10-second tasks in a very easy way. So a lot of examples here in this movie. I will maybe not do it until the end, but as well, for example, viewing your payment state, viewing who is my manager and so on. So we're really having as well SuccessFactors as a bot that is behind it, integrated with Teams to really do some certain actions or navigation through the right way. If we then look at the people manager, if we look there, what does a manager want to do, want to have, how can AI help him or her? So in this case, really helping them in writing in a correct way, getting more smart insights, for example. You could use it, for example, in the really AI-assisted writing. For example, something that we are seeing, if we are asking feedback to a manager of a certain employee, sometimes they struggle with giving the correct feedback to somebody, or they don't know how to make the correct wording in it. So we can help them with posing some questions, but still the feedback needs to be written down. And with AI, you can really enhance the text that you have put, for example, within your feedback, in this case in the 360 performance. So in this case, you are typing something as a manager, and it takes some time in this video, but okay. And then you can really, in an easy way, select the sentence and then really making sure that it is enhanced or in the writing. And this is a functionality that you can see throughout all the different modules within the system, really trying to help a manager or an employee, in this case, really enhancing your writing within the system. So you can just select it, replace it, for example, in that case. As well, some other examples, the AI-assisted writing, really translating, that's something that will come in the next months. So for example, you have an English text, I want to push a vacancy for a Belgian market, it needs to be in Dutch, it needs to be in French, for example, and that way you can easily analyze it and also translate that content. Another one for the manager, having some insights, and this again you will see in the different modules. In this case, a manager wants to see from somebody from his or her team, what are, for example, the compensation insights? What is the history that is behind that person? Did that person get a raise? What was the evolution? What's the salary grade? What's the bandwidth of this person? So in this case, the AI will give you a summary and also some talking points or some insights that you can use together with that person. So for example, what was the compensation history? Were there some one-off payments that have been done? How do we see the job progression? As well in the coming releases, we will see that as well, the input or, for example, the grading that or the evaluation that has been done in performance could then be added. So in this case, you can really leverage on all the modules that you are having within the system. Also some talking points that the system will give you, but I think a very important one, and again here, what is the truth in this case? As well there, the embedded functionality will look at the data sources, making sure that you have a good overview. So for example, there if you then select the data sources, you will get a full overview again on how it is created within the system. Again here, depending on the roles, the permissions that you have within the system. This is just an example, but again, the embedded functionalities will take this over in the several cases. Then the last one, if we look at employee, again here, could be an easy one. As well, if we look at an employee, they want to ask questions. I think we saw already a couple of examples with Joule, but as well within the system, for example, how could the AI really help on creating certain performance goals, making sure they are really accountable, that you can create the correct ones. So in here, the AI will propose certain goals that you can do. So in this case, it's about generative AI. So the system really generate a text for you, trying to put in some milestones and so on. The description that you can enter, and you can also regenerate it, for example, if you're saying, okay, I want to see something else in an easy way embedded within SuccessFactors. You can see, for example, the regenerated cases within the system. Really trying to help an employee to make it tangible within the system and making sure that it has an added value for you as an employee. So just some examples, and I think a lot of examples will still follow within the coming months and in the coming years. I think SAP is really investing on it, on the embedded cases, and I'm sure that in this way there will be more cases. Again here, if you want to look at the embedded cases, don't hesitate. At the end we'll show you some contact slides. Just reach out to us, and then together with you we can see, okay, which modules are active, which scenarios would possibly have an added value for you as a company, and in that way, in an easy way, we can activate them. I'll now give the word to my colleague Bert to really focus on the custom features within BTP.
Thanks, Roland. So you've seen this slide, and Roland explained the embedded AI capabilities. And those make use of basically functionalities that are available in the AI Foundation. So if you want to make your own customized applications making use of AI, you can use those building blocks as well. So I'm going to explain some of them that I'm really enthusiastic about. So here, and so that AI Foundation, when you look at it, it's basically a whole bunch of services, of which we're going to highlight 3. And it's also, the AI Foundation gives you access to the different large language models provided by different companies. But also, it provides access to your data in your SAP systems. So first of all, we're going to have a look at these services. Are it's quite a lot of them, as you can see. But we're only going to look into 3 of them. So document processing. What is it? It's basically OCR on steroids. What you see here is basically you have a tool in which you can basically define which fields you want to retrieve from a document that comes in, from a PDF that comes in, for example. Here you see a delivery note, and you'll probably wonder, like, why am I showing a delivery note in an HR webinar? Well, just to show that it doesn't really matter which documents you're going to send to the document processing, you'll get great results. So what do we see here? We've defined which fields of a delivery note that we want the AI to extract from the document that it will be sent to it. And when we send that document, sorry, I have a short delay here. Okay, there it is. You see here that was a document sent, a delivery note, and the AI has marked where it could retrieve the information, and also filled in the different values that it could find in the document. It's also very pessimistic. It always says, well, I'm not quite sure about it, but the results have always been great so far in the tests that I've done. So here we do it the same with a doctor's note. And here you see the results. Everything that we wanted it to retrieve was retrieved nicely. So now you can think of your own automations that involve something coming in the form of a document. So instead of having to call, you could think of a process in which an employee just emails a picture of the sick note to a mailbox. There it is picked up, and an automation is started to, for example, notify the manager, cancel all meetings in Teams, etc., etc. So here again, one great building block that you can use in your own automations. The second one that we want to point out is the orchestration tool. So what is orchestration? Well, if you make use of GenAI, then you're gonna type in a request to ChatGPT, for example, and you'll get an answer or a hallucination. To ensure that you don't get an inappropriate answer in your prompt, you should provide guidelines. So this is the way in which you need to respond. These are the types of questions you can answer. These you shouldn't answer, etc., etc. But still, it will, the large language model will hallucinate, will make up facts out of thin air. You don't want that as a company. So you give it access to real data, and you're going to ground documents. So you can point to, when you give an answer, look at the body of documents in that SharePoint, for example, and look at these tables. So this will guarantee or improve the chances of a good answer. But are you, what is done with all that data that you're sending to the large language model? So that's why BTP has the orchestration tools made available. So what do they entail? First of all, grounding. You can say basically, look at this body of documents, and there is a SharePoint, and from now on, make sure that when you give an answer, you look at those documents first, or tables. You can add tables as well. Then the prompt templating, as I said, how does your chatbot need to behave? So if you are, for example, a company with a pirate theme, you could ask it to sound like a pirate in iambic pentameter, for example. Whatever you want there, what fits your branding as a company. So then data masking, you can also say that when we're sending data to the large language model, we want you to mask particular fields. So no employee names, no company names, no customer names, etc. So you can mask particular things so that they don't get sent to the large language model. And then lastly, you can add content filters as well, so that when a user swears, or that it is filtered out, or that when inappropriate feedback is returned by the LLM, it is filtered out as well. So that basically these tools help you set up all the different functionalities, orchestrate them to ensure that you give a good answer when a request is made. And lastly, the last component we want to look at is basically, the agents. And agents are basically automation on steroids. And so think of tasks that you want to give to someone else, basically, and you can. This is coming up, but it is. We've seen, and it's looking really great, that you can basically customize your agents. So you're gonna again define how it should sound, tell it which resources it can use, which documents, which APIs, etc. You can provide some sort of flow that it can follow, and then you can basically have it do those tasks. So one last thing that I want to show is that I can talk about it, but we are really using these functionalities as well in our own projects. For Bekaert, we built a master data cleaner for SuccessFactors. So what you see here basically is, why is it special? Well, you can do checks on the data, but you need a developer to create those checks and to create the reports. With this tool, basically an HR admin can, or someone from the HR team can basically make these checks themselves. So what you see here is all the checks that have been created. So when you click on one of those checks, for example, you see which errors that were found. So you have different checks. You have the hard checks that provide errors that need to be corrected, and you can also look at the data from a perspective that, do you see irregularities? But this is a hard check. And it can also define on which data set, so do this check on a particular country or do this check for a particular type of employee, etc., can be defined, and then the checks can be run. So when we have a look at, it's on the left, you see all the rules that were created. On the right, you see the errors that were found, and when you click and you see basically what was the error and what suggestion is made, and when you click on accept, still the human in the middle, then that data is updated in SuccessFactors. We also have the suggestions, and here, what's a suggestion basically? What's the difference with an error? Here you're gonna ask the system to look for irregularities. For example, can you find inconsistencies in job titles? So this is example, and here what it's gonna do is it's gonna group all job titles in clusters, and you can you see here, I see different similar job titles, but I also see that some are grouped wrongly. Then we can regroup those job titles in the correct groups, so that a particular group is basically one job title, and then we can pick the one that we want as a standard from now on. And so we have all these different spellings of an account manager, and from now on we pick this one, and it will also update all the data. A second inconsistency check is between a relationship between two tables, for example. And here we have check job titles related to pay grade, and then the system is gonna retrieve those inconsistencies as well. And then it's gonna say, for example, okay, these look normal, but we found a particular a strange pay grade for an account manager. Do you want to have a look at it? And here you have a conversation. You can have a conversation with the system. Okay, who has that pay grade? Oh, it's Vanessa Smith. Oh no, that's okay for her. And then you can save it as a guideline so that it doesn't come up anymore as an inconsistency. So this is a way in which we use Gen AI basically to help you keep your master data clean in SuccessFactors.
So maybe before we go to the Q&A, so I think as well, if you would be interested on the embedded or on the custom AI functionalities, then don't hesitate to contact us. I think first step, let's look into the embedded AI capabilities. Which modules do you have within SuccessFactors? Which cases could really have an added value for your case? Together with Flexso and with you, we can really look at what could be the strategy for your company. I think that's step one. Step two, if you would be interested, again, they're exploring more use cases in a workshop. So we know that a lot of people have a lot of ideas. How can we structurize them, making sure that how do they fit the strategic objectives, making sure that everybody from the stakeholders is involved, really making sure that we can have an AI or an automation strategy within the company.
That is feasible.
That is feasible, indeed. So I think that could be a second step. And then again, then really looking into it, how can we roll it out, roll the AI capabilities within SuccessFactors on BTP, how could we roll it out within the company, hopefully for the next great project launch that we could have. In the QR codes in the presentation, you can just go to our website and contact us, and then together we can look on what cases could be interesting for you to use. So I think we have around 15 minutes left for Q&A. So maybe checking there if there were questions already asked. So first question is, what if the manager, for example, makes a job title change, but does not say anything about the effective date? Does AI ask about the effective date? So I think there are two cases here. We saw, for example, the promotion case. There the system will ask for a date, and the system will always do that because it's effective dated objects. So in the same case, if we look at the custom changes, there as well we can also play around with those dates because we are using the same objects. So I think that's a very important one. We are using the SuccessFactors data, for example, in the data cleaner to making sure that we can have the correct data in it. So in that way, it's as well an effective dated object that can be used. I hope that answers your question. Maybe go to the next question. In Teams, can manager manage the Teams contract end date from manage team? It's a lot of team in one sentence. Can this be done in bulk? A good question. There are some cases if the actions are activated. I want to double check that maybe. I think for the second one in bulk, there I'm not sure. So that's something I need to come back on. But in Teams, the logic there is that you can push all the actions that you can do as well as a manager or as an employee. So that should be feasible, but maybe that's something that we will come back on. Maybe to the next question. Can I ask Joule my question in another language, for example, Turkish? Joule is not activated yet in all languages. I don't know if Turkish is added into the language. So I think each release there are new languages that are pushed. So again, there I expect in the coming months that more and more languages will be added, specifically within SuccessFactors. Maybe to the next question. I thought that if AI doesn't know the answer to a question, it makes up an answer. Mm-hmm. Can SAP guarantee that won't happen in a SAP context? Maybe Bert, that's something for you.
Well, 100% guarantee, I'm not sure, but by adding, so the grounding capability ensures that you get decent answers. Because basically what you're going to do is when you've grounded information, a search will be done on that information first, and that will be passed along with your prompt, with your request, basically to the large language model. And basically telling it, look at this data, as of make use of this data that we've sent as well. So it greatly reduces the chances of hallucinations. But it depends on the request and how tailored the data is to your request. But if you instruct it only to look at the grounded information, then it, in what we've seen, it does that.
Maybe the next question. Can you use document extraction also for entering new hires in SuccessFactors? Document extraction for...
So that would mean that new hires would send you some sort of PDF document with all their CV, for example, and then you would try to extract everything you would need to start the process in SuccessFactors. I think that in this case, I don't think it's the best use of document extraction, maybe because I'm not sure that your resumes, your CVs will contain all the information that you will need for the process. But
maybe, I think it's a bit, if I understand the question correctly, you want to skip onboarding, I would assume. So for example, giving a file that people need to fill in and then use that data to do the hire of the person. So I do find it an interesting case. Thanks for the question. So I see some possibilities to do that, but in fact, standardly you're using onboarding for this as a module within SuccessFactors. But this might be a use case, so maybe I will contact you.
If you have a standard document that contains all the fields that need to be filled in, yes. Then,
looks like an interesting case. Can Joule run reports from a reporting center if we provide the name of the report or maybe display lists of the report that contain a certain word? I haven't seen this working yet. I would assume in the first release that there will be more focus on the analytics part. So in that case that you can go to a report. On the other hand, with the custom cases, so that's the embedded cases. On the other hand, with the custom cases, there I see some possibilities on doing that, because we can have access to the correct reporting. We can use the agents to have the interaction with it, get the data out of it. So there I see more a possibility in the custom one. In the embedded one, I'm not sure, but again, there I'm as excited as you are about the releases to see what will come up. Next question. Can requests fill out of infos, for example, from a SuccessFactors admin be sent via Teams to a specific population? Not sure on this one. I think that's something that we need to come back on in the embedded cases in the Teams integration. You should be able to send to a specific population, but I don't know if you can add as well certain data. I think you can guide it to the correct location from Teams so that then employees can go to the correct location. But again, here it looks like a good use case. Yeah. So I think these were the last questions. I think again, big thanks and sorry for the technical issues, but that's how life goes. I think a big thanks for joining this session. We will send the presentation afterwards. The marketing team will send you the presentation with all the information. And again, I think AI is something not always easy to present, but I think we learn the most with talking to each other. I think that's always how we see it and on how we can implement AI within the different companies. Let's talk about it and really see what could be a good use case for your company, and also seeing, is it feasible, can we make it work, and so on. So don't hesitate to reach out and contact us, and then we can come together. So big thanks.
Thank you.